Good morning, everyone. I am Nizme Basukaw and I am the first presenter of Group 4. So we are assigned with the topic Global Divides from Module 3, Lesson 1. Here is the outline of our presentation. First, global divide will be discussed by me. The discussion will include the global north and the global south. So next is the measures of the gap between nations. In here, Ms. Bitikan will discuss the measures or the factors that makes the gap between nations exist. Next is the ASEAN digital divide, which will be discussed by Ms. Bacquiao. She'll specifically point out the adoption of digital transformation in ASEAN member states. So the next subtopic is Mindanao and the conflict trap, which will be discussed by Ms. Bonhoc. Here, not only the conflict trap will be discussed, but the other three traps as well. All of which will be put in context of the Philippines, particularly the Mindanao's situation. The last subtopic of this lesson is the Bandung Conference, which will be discussed by me again. And in here, I'm going to discuss what it's all about and its relevance as well. Okay, so now let's proceed to the presentation of the first subtopic, which is the global divide. A global divide, which is commonly referred to as the North or South divide, is generally defined as the gap or like ang agwat or pagitan between the wealthy industrialized countries and the poor developing countries, which create inequalities in various dimensions and regions. So, ang concept ng global divide, nahahati daw yung mundo sa North at South. Kaya nga tinatawag din ang concept na to na North and South divide. So, this concept is a political categorization of countries. So, bale, kinakategorize ang mga bansa based on political and other related factors. Basically, whether the country is wealthy and industrialized or whether a country is poor and still developing. So, in relation to this, ano nga ba ang Global North at ang Global South? So, in Wallerstein's terminology, Wallerstein, the same person who established the world systems theory, if you remember in the past lessons, according to him, the global north make up the core countries. Again, if you remember, we discussed about core countries and peripheral countries in the previous lessons. So, bale, ang mga nasa global north ay yung mga core countries or those powerful industrial nations that dominate the global economic and political system. So, it is generally accepted as the economically developed and wealthy countries. So, yun nga, since the countries that are part of the global north are the core countries, syempre, their nation is wealthy and industrialized, most of whom are former colonizers. So, the European Union, Japan, England, diba, these global north countries are former colonizers. Okay, so let's move on to Global South. So, Global South denotes regions outside Europe and North America that are mostly, though not all, low income and politically or culturally marginalized. So, not only is Global North geographically the opposite of Global South, the two are also different in terms of their economic and political state. So, the countries that are part of the Global South, they are mostly located outside of Europe and North America, both of which are core countries that are part of the Global North. So, it refers broadly to the regions of Latin America, Asia, Africa, and Oceania. So, countries like Brazil, India, Indonesia, and even the Philippines. So, it is one of the family terms including Third World and Periphery. So, if ang Global North ay First World and core countries, ang Global South naman ay part ng Third World and Periphery countries. So, in this concept, there's a particular term that is used to show how the world was geographically split into relatively richer and poorer countries. So, this is the Brandt line, which was developed by Willy Brandt in the 1980s. So, this is the model, if you can see it. According to it, richer countries are almost all located in the northern hemisphere, with the exception of Australia and New Zealand. Like what I said earlier, most of the wealthy and developed countries are located in the north, but not all of them. And then, the poorer countries are mostly located in the tropical regions in the southern hemisphere. So this is the end of my report for now. Ms. Bitikan will be the one to discuss the next subtopic.
My name is Ameline Bitikan. I'm going to report my topic. So, Human Development Report by the United Nations Development Program combines indicators of income, wealth, and well-being. These indicators reveals that the richest one-fifth of the world's population consume 86% of all the world's goods and services, while the poorest one-fifth consume just 1.3%. So, example lang natin dito sa Pilipinas. So, ang ibang country, nag-i-invest dito sa ating bansa. Like, nagtatayo ng mall or other businesses. So, dahil dito, nagkakaroon ng Pilipino ng trabaho. Nagkakaroon ng income. So, napuprovidean lahat ng kanilang mga needs. Nagkukonsume ng mga services. Nagbabayad ng mga tax sa government. So, yung tax na binabayad nila sa government, ginagamit din yun ng government para magtayo ng new schools or dinodonate nila sa mga charity. So, ang ating ekonomiya, pataas ng pataas. Unlike sa other country like Africa, walang masyadong nag-i-invest doon. So, ang mga tao, walang trabaho. Mas lalo silang nagiging mahirap at ang kanilang bansa patuloy na bumababa. Countries with majority of its population have experienced little to no income growth since the 1980s and 1990s make up what Peter Collier called the Bottom Billion. So, let me explain to you the book written by Peter Collier. The Bottom Billion ay isang aklat na naglalaman ng mga impormasyon ukol sa pagbagsak ng isang ekonomiya. Bakit nga ba bumabagsak ang isang ekonomiya? Kawalan ng edukasyon, walang masyadong nag-i-invest sa kanilang bansa, walang trabaho, pagkakaroon ng maraming anak pero wala silang stable na trabaho. So, isa dito na belong sa or consider sa bottom billion is the Africa region, Haiti, Bolivia, Laos, North Korea, and Yemen. The great inequality in the world in terms to access to and ability to use computers and internet, other digital technologies is called global digital divide. There have researches which suggest that digital divide does not only refer to access and connectivity to ICTs, but also extend into political and cultural aspect in any society. On the other hand, many internet companies like Google and Facebook have been bankrolling efforts to help connect large part of developing world. So in our generation, we are abundance of technology like Facebook, Netflix, email, like that. So example, we have family. We can easily access or connect with them with chats, Facebook, or email. So, example din natin yung panonood ng Netflix, di ba? Like, manonood tayo ng Korean movies. Dahil sa panonood natin, maa-adapt natin yung kanilang kultura minsan. So, that is my topic.
Good afternoon, sir. I am Daina Yangsin Bakyao. I am the reporter of the Asian Digital Divide and the Double Divide. Makikita natin sa larawang ito, dito, ang tawag dito is individual using the internet. Kung sino yung mas malaki, mas gumagamit ng internet. At dito, ang Korea. Makikita natin dito, ang Korea ang may pinakamataas na percent na gumagamit ng internet. While dito naman sa Lao PDR, ay yung mababang gumagamit ng internet. Dito naman, ang tawag dito is fixed broadband subscription. Based on my research about this, I refers to a fixed subscription to high-speed access to the public internet. Dito naman, ang tawag dito is fixed broadband prices. Base sa aking research, kasi hindi ko masyadong naintindihan, It is a comprehensive data or a retail prices of fixed and mobile broadband offer to consumers. So let's proceed to the double divide. What is double divide? Based on my research, double divide creates an explosion of mutual groups distrust which hardens between the two political parties and spread beyond political sphere into societal relations. What is the major causes of double divide? The double divide is caused by political power, economy, um, dependency, and importation or exportation of resources. Double divide is between nations as well as within them. It is major cause income because everything is dependent on money. Other causes are health and education.
Good day, I am Laramie Bonhoc, the reporter of Mindanao and Conflict Trap. First is Mindanao is the second largest in the Philippines and is home to over 26 million people. It is the most diverse region in the country with a variety of ethnic groups and indigenous communities. Sadly, Mindanao is also the poorest region in the Philippines and has the highest rate of poverty in the country. Much of this poverty can be attributed to armed conflict and natural disasters, as well as inadequate infrastructure and a lack of economic opportunities. In recent years, the government has made efforts to improve development, but much work still needs to be done. The Philippines also is included in the Global South due to its lower middle income status, as well as its challenges in poverty and equality in access to basic services. Despite recent economic growth, poverty remains an issue in the Philippines, particularly in Mindanao. Mindanao is also home to a significant number of indigenous communities, many of whom have limited access to education and health services as well as access to land and resources. These factors, combined with its lower middle income status, have led to the Philippines being included in the Global South. Let's proceed to the Peter Collier's conflict four trap. The first one is conflict trap. It is the essence, the idea that civil war begets more civil war. Marawi City is a city in the Philippines that was devastated by a civil war that began in 2017. The conflict between the Philippine government and a local Islamist group, the Mauti Group, lasted for 5 months and caused massive destruction in the city. As a result of the conflict, thousands of people were displaced and much of the city was left in ruins. The second one is natural resources trap. It is the idea that the discovery of valuable natural resources in the context of poverty constitutes a trap. The discovery of valuable natural resources in the context of poverty in Mindanao has created a natural resources trap. This trap has been caused by the systematic tolerance of land conflict in region. This allowed large corporations to exploit the region's resources for their own gain, while simultaneously infringing the land rights of local people. The third one is trap of being landlocked with bad neighbors. Occurs when a country is resource scarce and has poor transportation linked to the coast. Being landlocked with bad neighbors can be a major handicap for a country or region. This especially for the greater Mindanao regions where transportation links to the coast are poor due to either the region's own lack of infrastructure or the bad luck of having neighbors with poor infrastructure. This limits the ability of the region to access resources and markets, making it difficult to develop economically. Last but not the least is bad governance trap. Identities poor governance as a problem that reinforces poverty and low growth. A bad governance trap occurs when a government implements policies that are ineffective or counterproductive, leading to a cycle of entrenched poverty, low economic growth, and further entrenchment of bad governance. This is particularly true in the case of Mindanao. Poor policies, corruption, and a lack of rule of law have all contributed to an environment in which economic growth is hampered and poverty is endemic.
So hello again, my name is Nizme Basukao and I am gonna discuss the last subtopic of this lesson, which is the Bandung Conference. So what is this all about? So the conference aimed were to promote Afro-Asian economic and cultural cooperation and oppose forms of colonialism or neo-colonialism by any nation. So it first emerged in the Asian African Conference held in 1955 in Bandung, Indonesia. It first emerged in the Asian African Conference held in 1955 in Bandung, Indonesia. So kaya nga siya tinawag na Bandung Conference kasi it was held in Bandung, Indonesia, but it was formerly called the Asian African Conference. So the conference was jointly organized by Indonesia, Burma, India, Sri Lanka, and Pakistan, which occurred at a pivotal moment in the history of Global South. It brought together representatives from 29 countries representing more than half of the world's population, and it set the direction for an entire political movement. So paano nga ba nangyari ang Bandung Conference? So at the time, the Cold War between the United States and the Soviet Union was in full force, no? The movement towards decolonization was also underway. And the major colonial powers at the time, which was the United Kingdom, the France, and to a lesser extent Belgium, Italy, Portugal, and Spain, were economically and militarily exhausted because of the war that they have gone through. And as a result, they were not in the position to maintain the colonial occupation of the global South that they had. Kaya nga, ang resulta nito, some global South countries gained independence. Kasi nga, the global North countries weren't able to maintain it. Kagaya ng India. So, in 1947, India secured its independence from the United Kingdom. So, this symbolically marked the beginning of the end of the British Empire. Kasi nga, yung United Kingdom, part siya ng Cold War. So, it was a chance for India to gain its independence, and they successfully did nga. India had long been the most important of the British colonies, and if it were to achieve its independence, which they did, then independence for Britons and other colonies was likely only a matter of time. So, because of that, the countries that are part of the Global South, which were still colonized at that time, kasi nga, at the time of the meeting in Bandung, much of the Global South countries were still under the colonization of the European control. So, as a result, there was both a bevy of countries supportive of efforts towards decolonization and a host of countries struggling to achieve their independence. So, basically, ang nangyari, because the global North countries or the colonizing countries were, again, gaya na sabi ko, militarily and economically exhausted, it's like the global South countries took it as a chance to gain their independence too, just like what happened in India. And that's why they kind of collaborated together and made a plan to make it work. Kaya nga, di ba, the Bandung Conference was basically all about cooperation of the Afro-Asian economies to oppose colonialism and neocolonialism, which a lot of the global South countries were experiencing at the time. So that concludes the topic that was assigned to Group 4, which is Module 3, Lesson 1, Global Divides. We hope that you learned a lot during this discussion, and thank you for watching. We hope you have a good day. Thank you.